All right, here we are, episode 27. We've made it through the frigid February. It's 50 degrees this weekend. It's almost golfing weather, gentlemen.
Yes,
So
amen.
we are super excited for you to join us tonight. As you can see, there's three of us here, just like always, except surprise, someone forgot he was coaching a basketball game today, and I'm not gonna say who it is.
You should just give them time.
What was that? Craig,
Oh,
is that
sorry
you?
right there. That's my
Oh.
lead-in music.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Well-oiled machine,
Sorry,
we
cued it
are.
too early.
With Devin gone, we're still right on track, just like every show. Um, I wasn't going to mention who wasn't here. Anyway, excited to be here. This is Dads and Ed. We're at episode 27. We have Craig Badura in the house. We're going to let him introduce himself here in just a second. Josh Allen, Tech Integration Specialist, Lewis Central, just outside of Omaha, on the Iowa side of the river. Three wonderful kids, a wonderful wife. We'll talk a little bit more about one of the kids. We got a big week this week around our house, so we will discuss that in a little bit. Brent, since we will leave the guest for last, go ahead and first off, I'm excited that you're here, Brent. As I told you
Yes,
before the show, I was a little nervous you weren't going to make it, since
yes. Seeing
one
how
of the other
Devin,
thirds of us wasn't going to be here. So just
right,
glad
and
you're here.
this was just a winning prize for Devin in the sense of he was closest on the Super Bowl predictions. Therefore, we kick him out of the show the next
That's
time.
right. Yep.
So
Don't
that's
be
what you
too
get.
good, or else you don't get to come back.
Exactly. So Craig's auditioning for co-hosting tonight, and we'll expect our listeners to fire at us, what they think. But no, Brent Callett here from Kansas City, Mo, down at Independent School District, Director of Technology. And guys, believe it or not, my wife is due 9 days or less to have our fifth child,
Wow.
and so it's a little stressful. As Josh mentioned, we may or may not have been here tonight, but so far so good. We're holding in strong, and my wife's amazing in the way she carries babies. I just wrote a blog post, actually, an open letter, I called it, to my wife. It's actually a surprise Valentine's Day present. And the thing is, I've tweeted it and I've shared it. She has no clue because she just hates technology. So, like, eventually I will email her the link that she'll be at least able to open. She's that good of a user. But I'm kind of excited. I wrote this little thing to her. Had been working on it for a little while, and just blessed to have someone like that who has mothered the children and stays home with them now. It's just awesome. So excited to have Craig on the show tonight and visit and hang out with you guys.
Well, Craig, normally we have our guests come in a little bit later, but like we said, we're a man down. So you were gracious enough to come in a little early. So go ahead and introduce yourself to the thousands of people that watch and listen to this beautiful podcast we have here.
Well, I know this is like a possible interview, so Devin,
Yeah.
that's hence the tie, the shirt and tie. So
Yeah.
hopefully I can steal that spot from Devin. But I am Craig Badura, Mr. Badura on the Twitters. I am the integration specialist here at the awesome Aurora Public Schools. I might be biased, but it's a pretty darn good school. And proud dad of two kids and a wonderful wife. And here I am.
Well, again, Craig, we do appreciate you being here. If you want to interact with the show during the show or at any time, really, we actually who was it? Melinda Miller was last time I mentioned that we had just gotten rid of the pacifier for the 2-year-old. So Melinda Miller listened to the podcast, shot me an email for a link. Appreciate that. You can do that by mentioning @dadsanded, which is our Twitter account. And you can also use the hashtag #DadsandEd. We will do our best to monitor that throughout the evening. And you can email us at any time, dadsanded at gmail.com. So one of the the water cooler topic for the evening, ESPN.com had a story on Tony Dorsett, I believe they said the eighth place for all-time rusher in the NFL, and one of the things that he talked about is battling CTE, which I should have had this queued up. What's CTE stand for?
Chronic traumatic and then it's
A big word.
Yeah, it's a big one. It's a philanthropy.
Okay, hey, that's good. Oh yeah. So basically,
I'm sure I butchered that, but
we're not your source for all big medical terms.
no.
But definitely something that we've heard of a lot of NFL players experiencing, basically caused by head trauma. And just an interesting story. Tweeted it out on the Dads of Ed account earlier this evening, probably about 5 or 10 minutes before the show. As you guys read this, one of the things that we were talking a little bit about on Boxer with both of you guys is, Tony Dorsett was one of those running backs we watched growing up. As we get to this point where some of those guys that we saw, growing up and we idolized and, we were them in the backyard, they're getting to that point where they're starting to see the effects. Like they said, 60 years old. What do you guys think about, when you read stuff like this? Craig, go ahead. We'll let you go first, since you're the guest.
I played football, I coached football, and it just really, how much longer are we going to be surprised by this when the game is getting so fast, athletes are getting so strong, and they're literally running into each other at full speed? And I don't know, I guess it's kind of sad to see, as I was just talking a little bit earlier about the Jim McMahon article from a couple years ago, and it's really sad. And I had boxed you earlier, Josh, and I taught world history for 10 or 11 years, and I kind of equate it to the Roman gladiator arena. And we always talked about with the kids how the Romans, one of their eventual downfalls was the breads and circuses. They got too much into entertainment. I think that's essentially what's kind of happening with some of these players in the NFL. Is it's just put me back in the game, shoot me up with cortisone, do whatever it takes to get back in the game. I mean, what was the one receiver? Hadn't he just had a concussion? He was out for a couple of weeks, or a week before the Super Bowl, or during the playoffs. And you just think of some of these, I think you have one concussion, you're done. I would be very hesitant, and I think now we're seeing some of these injuries from 25, 30 years ago. It's coming into play now, and it's really just, I think it's a travesty, and it's sad, and it's a big business, and these guys are getting paid a lot of money, and I think they're sacrificing a lot for that. But nothing bad against football; it's a great sport to watch, but it's just becoming such a violent, fast sport with the way that athletes are conditioned anymore.
Yeah, there's been a lot of publicity around less kids getting involved now, probably because of the fear of some of the parents that they have. I don't know if there's any validity in that, or if a sport like football ever kind of starts to, how can I say, become less popular, because I just don't think that happens. But I don't know. At the same time, I wonder, though, will there be systemic change based on the fact that some of this stuff comes out, or more and more of it comes out, in the future? I don't know.
That's one thing that I thought was interesting too. Is the NFL continues to be the largest, most popular sport in the world. Well, I don't know. I should say the world. Maybe soccer probably overtakes it, but I think you're right. As more kids don't play it, or as more parents don't allow their kids to play it, it'll be really interesting. Coming down the road here in 15, 20 years, how much popularity the NFL maintains. That's a huge thing, and I'm a huge baseball fan. I don't like the NFL. It doesn't have anything to do with the hits. It has everything to do. I just get annoyed by it. I hate how up one week and down one week they are. I enjoy the rah-rah of the college game, and I love baseball. And that's one of the things they were talking the other day is, if you look at baseball, so many people look at the speed and the pace of play in a football or a basketball, and how, I wonder if that'll change. I wonder if parents will drive themselves, and maybe baseball's not a great example because you get a fastball thrown at your head at 100 miles an hour, but it will be interesting to see as more of these stories come out. I mean, you have Junior Seau, who was it, Duerson, the Bears receiver that committed suicide. All these guys have had the same thing, and it's just scary to think that Tony Dorsett, hopefully not, but could easily be the next one.
Yeah. I was just going to say, Steven Souter just tweeted us, and he and Mickey Mueller are out there watching and listening, but Stephen makes a good point. Football's a choice, just like drugs, alcohol, tobacco, McDonald's, Dairy Queen, he mentions. Uh, People are aware of those downsides. So I would agree with that statement, and perhaps it doesn't change then in the realm of the enrollment of people playing, but I think it's going to detract some. And I would agree there too that it's not then about the later on, how can I say, the litigation of some of the stuff that seems to kind of go down later. I agree that it's a choice. They know getting into it that there's injuries and things that come with it. If you're going to go make millions of dollars, there might be some sacrifices to your body.
And I think I've heard, I can't remember who it was now, that said that they fully understand what could come later, but they wouldn't change it for anything.
Right.
And I really find a hard time. That really, I don't know. I really have a hard time with that. Like, you look at Junior Seau, you listen to what Tony Dorsett says. Craig, you mentioned the Jim McMahon having to make a list everywhere he goes. How can you not look at what you're doing, and how can you be okay with that? Like, I don't get it. I don't understand it.
But I think it goes back to what Stephen talked about too with the alcohol, the tobacco.
Yeah,
I can see that same thing, but I guess I get bothered anymore when I see a lot of the youth sports movement when it seems like the age level keeps getting lowered, and we're having second graders with tackle football. And there's a really good article on that I found on the hashtag youth sports this summer that talked to a doctor, a physician, about just the age and how the brain hasn't developed. And when these kids are playing this at such a young age, they're more susceptible to some of these brain injuries. And we're looking at Tony Dorsett, that generation from 30 years ago. What are we going to see in 30 years with some of these kids that are, 8, 9, 10 years old playing tackle football? So, yeah, don't get me wrong. I love football. I'm a huge football fan, and I know it is a choice, like Steven said, but it's just scary to think, because I think the whole game, like I said before, has changed just even the last 10 years with strength and conditioning. Just how, like I said before, how conditioned those athletes are. They're so darn big, and just the way some of these kids, it seems like, are being taught to tackle and just going for the big hit versus, that fundamentally wrapping it up, and that doesn't look as good on TV. I want to have that big hit and make SportsCenter top 10.
Yep. Well, I mean, you had the NFL Game Day, whatever ESPN calls that show. They used to have just the big hits, and then they went to that Come On Man. I don't remember what it was before Come On Man, because that's just been hilarious. But, same thing. That they were promoting that culture, and got smart and mixed it up a little bit. But
right.
I mean, it's tough. It'll be like you said. It's interesting to see what the evolution of football will be. With more of this coming out and starting at the younger age. All right, gentlemen. Moving on. Dad Moment of the Week. One of our favorite segments here. We're going to let Craig join in with this. My Dad Moment of the Week, I have to say, I mentioned big week at our house. The oldest child is turning 7 this week. We had birthday weekend. We actually have birthdays starting. My niece turned 3 yesterday. Today is my mother-in-law's birthday. Tomorrow is my sister-in-law's birthday. Wednesday is my son's. Thursday is my nephew's. Friday's the 13th. I don't remember whose is the 13th. I think we have 2 friends over the 14th. Like, it's nuts. So we celebrated 5 birthdays this weekend. Still have some Lego decorations over there on the house. So it's hold that thought. Bill Little, employee of Brent Catlett. We're using that term loosely. It's all about the money related to the football thing. Sad but true. So thank you, sir, for checking in.
Back to your birthday party. Did you guys have a big camping trip about 9 months ago, 4 or 5 years ago, or did you? Was that
No, that's funny you mentioned that. No.
Just wondering.
It is they're not all the same age.
Okay, gotcha.
So one's a 3-year-old, my nephew's 5, and my son's 7. Good
Gotcha.
question, though. That's appropriate question. Appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. By the way, we need to get our camping spots reserved for the summer, so we need to chat that sometime.
We do. Fun fact, Brent, I don't know if you know this. Craig and I are texting each other last summer. We ended up at the exact same campsite right next to each other.
Really?
Literally, had no
Oh yeah,
idea.
no, I
It was
knew this.
the
Yeah, you
day
guys.
of.
Yeah,
It's
that
good
was
stuff.
awesome.
Crazy.
I know.
And
I've
they
been trying
kept
to
us
get.
up all night, Brent. They kept us up all night.
Whatever. You had enough apple pie moonshine. You just dozed right off. You didn't. Tree could have fell outside. You wouldn't even known it.
Oh.
Anyway, so birthday party weekend around here. It's always a lot of fun. My youngest sister-in-law makes a really good cake, so we did the Plains Fire and Rescue cake for my son. It's fat. It's just amazing to watch him work. So anyway, my
That
dad.
cake looked amazing.
Oh man, it tasted good too. I got a little bit more waiting
Wow.
for me while I'm fixing this podcast tonight. Brent, what do you got?
Well, for me, this weekend was beautiful here in KC and so got out to do some stuff. I'm still preparing the house. The wife's got me knocking off a few items on the honey to-do list before baby comes. But so I got that done because we were up at the butt crack of dawn thanks to one of the little ones. So I was done with my work by about 10:30, and I said to her, I'm like, listen, I just want to go and enjoy these days outside. And so we went to this park, did a little biking on Saturday, which was a lot of fun. And then Sunday, we went to this place called Kaleidoscope, which is down in the Crown Center area. That my wife was telling me that it's like some of the materials from Hallmark, which their hub is here, that like just the extras, and then it's this kind of very creative, fun space for kids, and they have these like little half-hour chunks that are free. You just kind of have to get in, and then there's a limit to the amount of people they let in. And so the last one of the day was 3:30 or something, I want to say, on Sunday, and so we ran over there and got there just in time. You know, like one of those where we're flying, the doors open, the kids are running out, and I'll go park the car, and got in and just really enjoyed with the kids, that time. And of course went very quickly, but just enjoyed being outside. Did some sidewalk chalk out in the driveway, and it's always fun to see the kids playing well together when that happens. And that happened this last weekend. So just really enjoyed that time with them and the nice weather.
Nice. Craig.
Oh, last weekend we did a lot of basketball traveling across the state, which is kind of fun to watch your kids and the activities you guys will find out here in the near future. But a couple of weeks back, went to the Phoenix Open. Caleb and I have gone. My son have gone 3 of the last 4 years, and my daughter had just randomly, about a month before Christmas, said, "Why do we spend all this money on presents? Why don't we go somewhere?" So Dad went, "Okay." So ended up talking. My daughter doesn't like to miss school very much, so I said, "Hey, I told my wife, let's book it." My wife hadn't been down there yet, so we went out and went down, and it rained on us all 3 days. So 335 days of sun in the desert, and we caught 3 of the days that were. But it was good. It was a bucket list. We all are huge Tiger Woods fan. Yeah, don't criticize me. I'm not a supporter of what he's done, but what he's done for the game is totally revolutionized the game, and got to see Tiger, so that was kind of a bucket list event. And then got to do a little golfing on Saturday. We did Top Golf on Thursday night. If you haven't checked out a Top Golf, Cat, I don't know if you got one in your neck of the woods, but that was probably some of the most fun I've had off the golf course when I was actually swinging a club. It's a thing. If you think of a bowling alley for golf, is
Really?
what it is, and it's a blast. And it's rated, I think, fairly nice price wise. But it kind of really just hit. I told my wife when we were golfing in Phoenix, I said, look what we're doing. I said, all those times that we were dragging the kids out to the golf course. Well, we didn't drag them; they wanted to go out there. But and the little ones are dragging the clubs around. I said, it's just kind of cool how that dividend, that investment's paid off for us. So it's kind of cool now that we can golf as a foursome, and all those tears and trials and tribulations when they're younger. It's just kind of cool now. So that's what my highlight is.
We're gonna jump right into questions because you led me right into one there. You guys do a lot of golfing. What is it about that sport? I mean, obviously you guys are good. I know just from our conversations that your kids are really good. What is it that you like about golf?
We can be together as a family. I find that and we just talked yesterday about this is the first year that we're going to be done this early. Next weekend, my son will be done with basketball in like 8 years. And we're like, holy smokes. But golf really gives us that ability right now during the summer to have 4 hours of digital detox, of having conversations with each other, walking down the fairway with either my son or my daughter or all four of us together, joking, and just it creates that family atmosphere. And I think it's Jack Nicklaus that said kids should grow up on a golf course that teaches them how to behave. And I truly think that every kid in America should learn how to golf because it's frustrating. There's no other game I don't think that will teach you more about life or is similar to life than golf, because some days are good, some days are bad. You get out of it what you put into it. So, it's just something that we've really, I guess we never pressured our kids. We had a house on a golf course and the kids just loved. That was their kind of way to recreate and hang out and just do things on the golf course. So it's been good to us, and it's now nice to, like I said, reap some of those dividends.
I have to say, Josh, I've had an opportunity to play with Craig and his family, and well, you're all awesome people, as you know, I think, but I do see, I kind of envy that. I hope that I can emulate that with my kids. I take them now as youngsters, and it doesn't always go as well as I'd like for sake of their attention span. But boy, they love to drive the golf cart. My oldest is at a point of he loves to tee it off, at this point, and they love to putt. So I figure I got them in some levels, and the rest will come along. And watching your son play, I know you guys came to Bellevue back before I moved south. And I just tremendously enjoyed walking around the course with you that morning and watching him just strike it right down the middle and putt and chip like a champ. And he just does it so kind of effortlessly. He reminds me of Freddie Couples almost with his demeanor so quiet and reserved. And like I said, but I think that that's been taught in the realm of the humility of the game.
Yeah.
And I know for me personally, it has tremendously taught me patience and being humble, because not to brag, but I've been successful in other sports, and to go to a game that humbled me so quickly, where it was like this guy next to me could drive it further than me and better than me, and yet he didn't look like more of an athlete than me, and on a basketball court or on a baseball field, you kind of have that advantage, and that's the beauty of golf. It just doesn't matter your size, shape, color, ethnicity. None of that matters. Like, it's just about playing the game, and I couldn't agree with you more in that sense, but I've truly enjoyed my opportunities to get to play with you guys and hang out with the Baduras on the course.
When you struck something there in mind, I've always said golf is a game too many people get frustrated, and I think that's where we're seeing such a demographic from that 18 to probably 35 range right now we're losing, is because so many people try to make golf a game of perfect, where bowling I can get a perfect game, baseball I can get a perfect game. Where golf, you're never going to perfect it. And, Tiger Woods had said that you can always make yourself better. And that was in his prime 8-9 years ago. And when a guy like that's saying, you can always make yourself better. I mean, that, like you said, though, appearances, you can have the most, obnoxious looking person, and it's like, whoa, how do they have that game? So you can continually hone your craft. And it's a game that you can play your whole life, even in your 90s. How cool is that?
Right, absolutely. Because physically, I can't get up and down the court like I used to, and that's frustrating. So, and I kind of quit on the baseball stuff and softball stuff because that started to not work out real well either. So I agree. It's so much less physically demanding on you, and that's, if you're depending on how much you're playing. And the other thing that strikes me is just the memories of getting to play. Steven's listening tonight. I've played with him and Chris down in the Ozarks, and Devin and I. We had him on the show, and he was bragging about beating us. But but it's fun to be able to enjoy those times together. And I like you said, the kind of digital detox of it. It's a space where you can go and just get away from all that stuff too, and so easily just enjoy the nature and the course. And I really enjoy that aspect of golf as well.
And I think, like you said, you probably remember more about those conversations with Steven and Chris and Devin than you do of what you shot that day. Although Steven was saying that he probably won. Anyway, you probably remember the conversations more so than I think a lot of times. Even I can recall my last round with my dad. I can probably recall so many details right now. And I have that, and that was cool that we both had that round of golf together. So that's kind of a cool thing. I can remember so many details, but I can't tell you what I shot on some rounds in comparison. So that's kind of cool.
Well, and I would say I am not a good golfer, but I love being out there. And so even for someone like me, I take my son out not nearly often enough, but we can go out hit it around for a while, and like you said, spend that day. And it's funny you mentioned that um, the conversations you have with people, and probably the most memorable conversation I've ever had on my dad. I could tell you exactly what hole it was on which golf course, and the funny thing was, we went back to that golf course this summer. I took my dad and my son out, and he remembered it too. And
Mm-hmm.
like we were standing there on the tee, and he goes, "Hey, you remember when we talked about, that one thing?" And I'm like, "Holy cow!"
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
funny that it goes a little bit both ways. I'm glad you brought up Steven Sauter. He did mention the Ozarks, so appreciate him being on topic. I was going to give someone else a hard time, and now I can't find the tweet. Nathan Kleinmeyer, where'd your tweet go?
He said,
Mr.
"Will there be?"
Kleinmeyer,
Go ahead.
I was going to say he is the husband of the wonderful and fabulous Mrs. Kleinmeyer. Made a little camping joke. It's in reference to Ed Camp. I just thought, in case anyone else is following the hashtag, he wanted to know if there were s'mores, or what he has something about a tent or something like that. I lost it now. No.
He asked about archery. Will there be archery?
Oh, archery.
Oh, well, yes, archery, yes. We could
Yeah,
probably work that in next year if you'd like.
Yeah, we can do that. We'll
Yeah.
work on that.
We'll accommodate.
I actually have a plastic bow and arrow set. There we go.
Classic.
You know what? Let's keep going. Let's see. I want to talk Tiger Woods before we go, because I want to get your take on that in a little bit. So your kids are a little bit older than ours, which is fine. We won't talk about age right now. As your kids have gotten older, or after they had gotten into school, how is that changing how you view education? Or we all know that we do what's best for all the kids that are there, but it takes on a little bit different meaning when your kids are directly impacted. How does that change as your kids have entered into school and gotten a little older?
The biggest, because I've always been with my kids at school, it just really makes me appreciate what teachers do. And I know that sounds really superficial, but it does, because teachers have a lot on their plates, and it's just hard to accommodate and meet the needs of every single student in your classroom. So that's from day one at kindergarten, just knowing that you're given 17 different kids in your classroom, and you have to do what's best for every single kid in there. I don't know if it's possible, looking at some of the socioeconomic backgrounds that these kids are coming from. So it just really made me, and being an educator, you never really thought about my kids, and then you start thinking, oh, my kids are here. Look at what that teacher did to my kid, in a positive way. And I really never had any negative experiences, but I've just had some awesome teachers involved with my kids' careers, through my son's a freshman and daughter's a seventh grader. And that is so cool to me, because I really think, we're all making, I don't think we realize the impact that we have sometimes as educators. We get caught up in maybe some negativity or something at school, but it's pretty cool just seeing the impact that some of those teachers have on kids, and having those conversations with our kids at home is kind of cool. And they have, just like you and I, they had some teachers they liked, some teachers they didn't like. So just having those conversations and talking about school with the kids.
Craig, when I was out at a Husky Ed camp, I want to say last year, your son showed me his Minecraft project he had done for a teacher. I want to say a social studies teacher. Can you talk about that story a little bit,
Well, I'll give a shout out to Mr. Dubas. I wish he were on. I think he is. He might be a lurker on Twitter. Sorry, Jeremy. A seventh grade social studies teacher, and he had Caleb was into the Minecraft. Caleb, are you still on the Minecraft now? I don't think he does the Minecraft thing now. But anyway, that was a couple years ago.
That's so 2013.
Kids love that. That's a whole other subject. We could do a whole Dad's and Ed on Minecraft. But anyway, that was something that group, when he was in seventh grade, was really into. And we just said, hey, go talk to Mr. Dubas and see if you could. They had to recreate a project of one of the famous wonders of the world. So Caleb wanted to use Minecraft. So we went and asked Mr. Dubas and said, hey, can I recreate the Hanging Garden of Babylon? And that's what he created. And I think it was really cool that teacher was willing to do that. and say, oh, we've always done, like with popsicle sticks or wagon wheels or whatever. We made something, the volcano with baking soda and whatever. But he was open enough to let him do that, and he's done some other things with that. I think I blogged about one of the. If you look back, it's a fairly recent blog. I had a student from last year. I finally got around to it, but I asked him to do a guest blog post on same class, but he did a stop motion animation, and it's probably one of the coolest things I've seen done on an iPad since we've been iPads in 3 years, and it was done by a 7th grader. Go watch it. It's worth the 3 minutes, but you have to watch it all the way to the end to get the kids thinking, and it'll just blow your mind. And I'm glad to say that kid's leading a session at our hybridized ed camp this Friday, and he's going to teach our teachers how to use stop motion animation. So I'm jacked about that.
So did he just say hybridized?
Yeah. Is that a word?
When that became a word?
That means I'm cheating the ed camp model. It's not a true ed camp model. So I don't want to make any of the ed camp founders mad. So I've kind of cheated. So I call it a hybridized, kind of like a 4 hybrid, right?
Yeah, right. Instead of a 4 iron.
Yeah, it's easier to hit than a 4 iron. So when you do a hybridized ed camp, you kind of set it up so it's.
I had a 4 iron, but I hybridized it, so now I get a little bit more lift.
I don't know if that is a word, hybridized, but here's what we've done. We set the day up. We got 25 sessions, and last year I hybridized it and cheated and made up all the sessions, but I didn't let my teachers see it till that morning. Tomorrow we really focus this year on trying to tie technology, how it's being used outside of our classrooms, and we're trying to tie in kids and community members. So we have community members coming in to lead sessions. We have a couple agricultural engineers. Somebody's going to come in and do wearable tech, and I probably have about 7 sessions that are led by kids, but no sitting and getting. So teachers don't know it yet. Well, if they're watching this, but
they're
you're
probably
not going to
don't
be.
Worry.
Yeah, they're not going to be learning something. They're going to be learning something by doing. So they're going to be programming robots. They're going to be doing some programming stuff, learning how farmers are using technology. So hopefully it's a good day.
Let's talk about the farmers using technology. I've stolen some videos that you've shared from the Aurora Co-op.
Mm-hmm.
They're in Aurora, which we tried to get to sponsor your show your speaker fee that you charged us. They wouldn't do it. They said they spent too much money on a drone and the camera. So instead, we'll go ahead. Tell us a little bit about what they're doing with some of the drones and some of the videos they've made.
Well, that's Chad Carlson, and he's actually coming Friday, but he'll bring the drone in, and they bought a drone, I think, to look at, I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but I think to kind of maybe go up and look at bins, if there's been damage on a grain bin, but they can also use that to go out in the cornfields, and they can show farmers. I know that some adjusters around here use them for hail damage, so they can go out in certain parts of the field. When they're mapping their fields, they can go out and show this section of land right here needs more fertilizer, more water, whatever. So that's kind of how Aurora Co-op is using theirs, and I'm excited to have him come in and showcase that, because sometimes you think a drone, how am I going to apply that? What am I going to do with that? But I think that's cool, because we have a lot of kids in our ag program that might pique their interest and say, hey, that's kind of a cool idea. And that, I think that area is wide open where they're going to be using drones in the future here. So.
Well, and I said, when you shared that video, and again, Chad Carlson, search for him on YouTube, and one of the videos that I ended up sharing with someone from down south is they flew over a combine as it was harvesting this fall. And, I grew up here, obviously never seen the top of a combine as it was, getting corn in and pushing corn out. And so just a perspective for kids to say this is what really happens. Like, so many schools are talking about, farm to table or, healthy eating and, producing food. And it's such a cool way. And I'm so glad that they shared, the actual what that looks like and how that works.
Yeah, it was kind of cool because I had that plan before my session at Miami Device. And you want to talk about people that were really intrigued by that. They didn't even know what it was called. That machine, what it was called. So
that one thing that's eating the grass.
They're like, what is that thing? And so it was kind of cool for them that they were just like glued to the screen. So I think we could have watched that my whole session. I probably should have. But anyway, yeah, that was kind of neat. So shout
Hey,
out to
what
Chad for that.
what about you guys had to have seen what Patty Wolf was up
Hmm.
to, and Dave Everson out in Cozad with the Maker Fair.
Yes. Shout out
Awesome
Patty.
stuff. When you were talking about hybridizing things there, Craig, I was wondering if that's where you were going with your hybridization of your ed camp. But no, anyway, in all seriousness, I was following a little bit on Twitter. I think I caught a couple tweets or some other stuff, conversations around it, and kind of dug into that, and was really impressed with what Cozad did in the realm of just including community
Hmm.
and getting some stuff going, for those kids. And I think it was 2 days, and you guys can chime in here
Yeah.
as
Yep.
much as you want, but I'm just going off of what I read and looked through, and I was just how cool, to be able to pull something off like that for the students of the district.
Yeah. The shout out to Patty because that was awesome. And you always hear people saying, "Well, what are we preparing students for the real world?" Well,
Hmm.
then what are we doing in school? Are we fantasy land? So shout out to her for tearing that wall down and saying,
Yeah.
"Here's what we're doing." And I always see that people say, "Gosh, are we? It's not best. What's best in the real world?" Well, why don't those two worlds mesh? So that was awesome. She did that. That's just fantastic.
I mean, they had like nails people there, and
Hmm.
automotive things, and agriculture things, and I mean, you name it. Like, I felt like it was there, and it was stuff like you said that applied to them in particular, with some of where they are in the realm of Nebraska and its agriculture and some of that stuff too, which I thought was great.
Yeah, and I had just talked to Patty because she had said she couldn't make it. We were having a chat last week, and I said that's so weird because I've just found out in our one-to-one we're a lot like Cozad, which is kind of cool having Dave and Patty to hang out with Rob at our knock. I think 23 is his Twitter handle, Rob Noctegal, our tech guy, and we're just a lot of same in a lot of those ideologies. And I said, are you kidding me? That's kind of where we're going with our hybridized. There's the word again, with our ed camp, trying to bring in those community members and see. I'm just tired of doing that. Putting another thing on a teacher's plate. Let's see how it's relevant. What's going on in this world outside of our classrooms, and trying to make it applicable or relevant or authentic, whatever you want to say.
Well, and you've done a lot of that with bringing people in and exposing your kids to something a little bit bigger. And one of those that I also wanted to get to that was, I believe, 2 weeks ago was the UNL Tech Edge.
Oh yeah.
Talk a little bit about bringing those pre-service teachers out to Aurora.
I thought it was crazy. I'd done some stuff with them in the past. Keynoted there last January, and Guy got a DM one day, and Lori and Guy said, "Hey, we want to talk to you." And I think it was about September. And they said, "Have
And
Kittle."
I'll interrupt. Guy Trainin,
Go
who
ahead.
is
Yeah.
head. I don't know what his official title. I know he's at the University of Nebraska, and he works in
Yeah.
the teacher ed program. I don't. He does a lot of of the technology piece associated with the teacher ed. And
Hmm.
apologize, Guy, for not having the actual title, but sorry, just wanted to throw that in.
And then Lori, I think I'm saying it right, Friedrich. They had called and said, "Hey, we want you guys to. We're calling about Tech Edge," and I'm like, I can't take off and go to Lincoln. They said, "We want to have it at your school," and I just said, "Yeah, that's never going to happen." And my principal, Doug Kittle, if you don't follow him on Twitter, is awesome, visionary. Said, "Let's do it." And I'm like, okay, here we go. And at first we talked how many teachers. They said their max they've had in attendance there is like 125. So they do their little Tech Edge conference at UNL, and we had 242 show up last week.
Wow.
So it was pretty amazing. I have a blog post in draft right now, kind of evaluating that day and reflecting, and it's called Five Pizzas Short of Perfection, and that's what it was, because we were 5 pizzas short that day. Everything else went off without a glitch. We had a lot of nervous teachers because the kids were split up into 11 different strands. So you had your early childhood, you had your 4, 5, 6, you had your English, your middle school science, middle school math. So they had 11 strands, and there was probably 25 kids in each strand, and I was just panicking, going, "Gosh, what's going to happen to that learning environment when we put 25 additional distractions in that classroom?" And our kids, it was awesome. One of the coolest things that day was I walked into Mrs. Lewsom's room, Sarah Lewsom, our first grade teacher, and here she was talking to the kid, and our kids are just working on an app smash for a science project, and she's talking to the pre-service teachers, and then she told the kids, okay, now it's your turn to be teachers. So our first graders literally took over that classroom of 35 pre-service teachers. And I think it was very neat for those pre-service teachers, because I think so often they hear, hey, use this app, use Sketch for this, use Telegami for this, and they don't see it applied. And then it became all of a sudden, oh, that's how you can apply that in a math classroom. And I know our kindergarten teachers had stations set up, so those teachers walked out with 5 activities they can do on an iPad just like that. So that was pretty cool. And then we had them debrief at the end of the day. So we had all of our teachers, God bless our administrators, 32 teachers got covered that day at the elementary all the way to the high school. And we sat in the commons area. I had a name tag for them, and those teachers would sit at the table or stand, and they got to talk with those kids and have a debrief, ask and question and answer session, which is so powerful. And then Dean Sharesky was our keynote speaker. UNL funded that, so that was awesome to have Dean come in and share his message. But I think it was really neat for my teachers just to be able to share what they're doing, because I'm oftentimes telling them, you're doing awesome things in your classroom. And I've always said that you might think it's meaningless, but it's going to be magnificent to somebody else. And for them to have that opportunity, I think was pretty cool. One even said, I felt like a rock star. And I said, you are a rock star. You're awesome at what you're doing. Because I think too often we get caught up on what we do. We just do it because we do it, and you don't really think about it. And I think this is a good affirmation for a lot of I'm so proud of our teachers. They did an awesome job.
Well, and what a learning opportunity for those students, those pre-service teachers to come in, Craig. Because I want to dig in a little bit. You guys, I think you mentioned earlier, you guys have been 3 years iPads, yes?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Talk to us a little bit about successes, failures, things folks that listen in to the podcast, or and then I have another follow-up to this, but I want you to start with that, and then I kind of have another thought I want to run past you guys.
I think we're in such an infancy. It's hard to evaluate. And we did a survey with our teachers, and we did a survey with our 712 our students. And it was just interesting scouring that data and just seeing some of the feedback. We identified that the creativity piece is huge with the iPad. We would like a keyboard in some of our English classes, some of our business classes. Would be kind of nice to tie in that. It'd be nice to have that PC piece, or like a Chromebook where they could tie into our servers, and the Microsoft Office and some of the tools that they are using in the business world. But I think it's an ongoing process, and I hate to say, we're going to evaluate after 3 years and say this is where we got to move forward. Ideally in a situation, I think in a perfect, our tech guy calls it an X to 1 factor, where you might have 2 devices. You might have a Chromebook because you're in an honors English class, and you might have in Spanish class they're heavy iPad users. So I often think in my own daily, when I'm using devices, I have 2 or 3 different types of devices on my person. So why should we limit kids to 1 device? It's really about it's a tool. Let's give the kids the right tool. So as we move forward, hopefully we can do maybe some of that of giving some of our students some more of those different tools that they're going to be utilizing in schools. So that's I want to say let's evaluate it 6, 7, 8 years from now, see what kind of progress we're making.
And so I'm glad you kind of, and probably because we talk too much, but so I think that as I realize you're answering it perfectly in the sense of where I was hoping to go with, because I'm curious, and maybe Josh, you're welcome to chime in here too, of course, as the main host. But and by the way, it's kind of nice without Devin. No, I'm just teasing. I just want to throw that in there if he happens to listen.
We've had so many audio issues with Devin lately, the last 2 shows. If he's made it this far, he didn't want us to throw him under the bus, but it has been nice. I feel like I don't really have a whole lot to do. I ask a question, Craig answers it wonderfully, and Brent asks the next one. I don't have to mute Devin.
Right.
It's kind of nice. So sorry for interrupting, Brent, but that's my contribution right now.
No, it's all good. But because here's the thing, I've been trying to create this, and if Bill Little is still listening, he's kind of my iPad guy, and then I've got a crew of guys working on Chromebooks, and we're kind of developing that atmosphere of both. I think, in my opinion, a lot of districts get into, I've got to go one way or the other, and I don't know if that's best for kids, but historically, the tech guy, and I say the tech guy or the IT guy, is that one who's the one who stops that train or bus from kind of getting started, because they say, well, we can't handle both, or we can't do both, and that, which I think is baloney. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's something I'm trying to blow up in the sense of that's not the case. And I've got an awesome guy, Todd Thien, my assistant. I'll shout him out. He's TThien23 on Twitter. And, he's just been so open to my thoughts on this because I agree with you, Craig, that, I love the iPad and it's amazing what it can do, but there are times I need a keyboard, or I need a laptop of some kind, whether it's a Chromebook, a MacBook, or just some other kind of PC. I really don't care. But there's just that time for what device do you need, and sometimes it might just be my phone. So I don't know. It's just interesting, and I think that maybe I'm just thinking, but I think that could be a bit of an evolution of this game, if you will, in the realm of educational technology moving forward in the next several years with districts.
Yeah,
Perhaps I'm wrong.
And I think you're right, and I think sometimes in tech, and in regards to tech, we're doing what's best for our school instead of what's best for our kids. And I take it back to, I'll admit it, I did it with assessment sometimes. Was I doing what's best for my kids in assessment sometimes? Nope, I wanted to give that multiple choice test because it was going to be easy to grade. I wasn't doing what's best for my kids. So I think we have to look at that, and it's kind of hard to do that when, hey, this is the best device, we're going with it, this is going to be easiest to manage, let's do this. So yeah, we could talk about that for an hour and a half.
Coach Sauter just chimed in. The same type of thing. Why should we limit to just one device? One-to-one environment, i.e., one-to-one environment, and then diversity. And I think that's one of the things. And we're the exact opposite of what Craig is. We have Chromebooks, but we have that time that, man, God, we want to do this video. We can't do it. We don't have a device around, and we're not. The kids, some have this device, some have this device, and so I see where some of that is, with the back and forth and teachers having so many ideas. But I think you also have to just turn kids loose, and I think that sometimes is a struggle for teachers. We had a lady who wanted to do a news broadcast with Chromebooks. I was like, not quite sure how you're going to do that. Not going to look all that great, but do your kids have iPhones? Could they download this app and make this? But it's hard to let go.
Well, and Nathan Kleinmeyer? You said Nathan. I can't say I knew his first name, but I appreciate him listening. He said teachers become so invested in what they have created that new is scary. And he says tech is not replacing, but a tool to make learning relevant. Yeah. I mean, I agree that, and that's something I have been preaching for, I feel like, years, in the sense of, if you just kind of focused on Google Apps, or if you are using iPads, focus on some of the really good ones and not always being about the next greatest app. Or back to the choice, right, where your son had a choice to make a Minecraft project. Those sorts of things. If you're focusing on that versus it has to be this one-size-fits-all, put me in this box, perhaps I just don't fit in the box, but that bothers me about how it's sometimes kind of brought down on the level to kids. And I know Stephen chimed in too about, the York Dukes are loving the blend of Chromebooks and iPads, at the middle school, and keeping it diverse. I just think that's going to be a trend we start to see as people get into this a little bit further.
All right. We have that's some wonderful conversation, guys. Good feedback. Appreciate everyone who's listening. Apparently, Craig Badura is a big name. We got more responses on Twitter. Not sure how that worked out. Maybe you owe Mickey and Steven some money. Maybe that's what it is.
I'll pay you guys later.
Brent, are we gonna do? Do you have an app ready?
No, I
We're
don't.
just gonna skip that for this week.
Yeah, I'll skip it.
Okay. All right. Anyway.
I got a good one.
All right. What do you got, Craig?
Yeah, let's talk to this.
I'm firing it up. I love to really brand my golf team and try to model good digital citizenship for my kids. So I'm dusting off the Fonta app. It allows me to snap quick pictures. I love to use a Go Time pick, so it's in my photography folder. It's called Fonta, Fonta. So check it out. You can add. I always like to have a kid hold a golf ball up and let's showcase our kids, man. Let's do them in a positive way. And I always like to put a Huskies golf on there or something like Go Time. So that's just kind of a cool photo app. I know it does have a cost, so sorry if you want a free one to get Label Box. So there.
I do have one, Josh. He brings that up, and Craig and I have a passion for photography. I got one from Dean Shareski the other day, After Focus. We
Ooh.
follow each other on Instagram, and he took a picture at a golf course he was playing in Texas, and the guy's a world traveler, of
Mhm.
course. Well, anyway, it had a Texas flag in the background, and then the flag of the country club. I forget the name of the place he was playing, and everything else was blurred out. And I caught my attention, so I asked him. I said, "What are
Ah.
you using?" And it's called Afterfocus. I want to say it was 99 cents or perhaps
Yep.
$1.99.
Yep.
Good for the for the iPhone. But so I've been messing with it a little bit myself and just waiting to catch the right image to put that in. But I thought it was kind of cool.
Sweet.
It
Yeah,
is 99 cents. I am purchasing it as we speak.
yeah. Afterfocus is pretty sweet, and you have that draw ability there with your finger, and you can zoom in the sense of like what you want to focus and not. And I know I've had that situation, and sometimes schools do too. I know in my district we've talked about that in the sense of maybe blocking out some things or whatever. So if you don't want to have some of those other kids' faces in there or whatever the case might be, just other background noise that you don't need, you could blur it out.
Well, since we're on photo apps, I'll throw one in too that I actually got from Craig Badura. Color Splash is a great one to if you want to take a picture, and
Mhm.
when you open it in Color Splash, it turns it black and white, and you use your finger to color the specific part that you want to actually be colored. So it makes the whatever image you want to stand out. So, like for example, we have the American flag outside. Nice, beautiful blue day where the flag was no wind, so the flag is just hanging down. Took a quick picture. Everything's black and white except for the color of the flag. So it is a pretty fantastic app. I teach an iPad course, and a lot of teachers will use stuff like that. Those are great. Like you said, whether you're using like an Instagram for communication in the classroom, or
Mhm.
just want something different for your Facebook page or whatever. So
Yeah.
throw that one out there. All right,
That's a good
gentlemen.
one.
Well, I got it from you, so of course it's good.
Okay.
All right, with that, gentlemen, it's been a great night. I appreciate it. Craig, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day,
Yes,
dressing up,
sir.
classing up the joint a little bit.
Thanks for having me, fellas.
Absolutely, we appreciate it. We are back in 2 weeks, which would be the 23rd. Is that right? Right date?
I believe so.
And can we officially announce who our guest is? Oh, wait,
Nope,
no.
I don't believe so.
Ooh, okay, we need to figure that out. I thought we had it official, but I was on the wrong week.
Yeah, we haven't.
So check us out on Twitter at Dads and Ed. Check out Google Plus Dads and Ed. We will be back in 2 weeks. Have a good night.
Thanks, everybody. Peace out.
Later.